everyone. My name is Lizzie James. I'm currently located in our Atlanta, Georgia office, and I've been a social media manager for a little over 5 years now. I love going around and teaching people about social media and kind of the best practices to put your best foot forward in the digital marketing space. So today we'll be talking about top social mistakes, best platforms to use, creating content pillars that have a strategy behind them, audience insights, establishing goals for growth, and then I've also put together the ultimate social media toolkit for you. So first things first, the top social mistakes. I know as realtors, we're crazy busy and you have a lot of other things on your plate, so social may often fall to the back. But in the growing digital marketing world, social media is a huge factor for your business. So the first mistake I see is people not doing it. With so many clients flocking to social media in search of their next property, you need to be able to meet them there. The second mistake is not having a purpose or a plan. So you may be posting on social here and there once a week, once every 2 weeks, whenever you find time. But really, when prospects see that you're posting content regularly, they see that your business is thriving, and they can also get a feel for how you are as a realtor and your business. Number 3, being too promotional. You want to give your followers a taste of your personal life. It's okay to crack the occasional joke, tell stories. Doing so lets them know that you're more than just business. And as realtors, we know that word of mouth and building relationships is huge. And then number 4, not sticking with it or remaining consistent. Like I mentioned before, consistency counts when it comes to scoring engagement and ensuring that your posts are viewed as valuable by social algorithms. We'll get into that a little more here in a minute. So then that brings us to our first platform, which is Facebook. And this is probably the most well-known social media platform. It's definitely a no-brainer and kind of still remains a staple for marketing in the real estate industry. A big reason for this is because Facebook's user demographics, it ranges from people who are young teenagers all the way up to their mid-60s. And you can really use Facebook's algorithm to help target those. So while the business platform allows you to publish listing related updates and content, you can book appointments right on the platform. You can communicate with your customers. You can set up automated Facebook messages so they're able to communicate with you directly there. It also allows you to curate reviews on a single platform. And this is the biggest thing that really helps with Facebook. I know when my husband and I were looking to buy our first home, and I was looking at different real estate agents and trying to figure out who is the best person to go to, I would visit their Facebook profile and go take a look through their reviews. And that just kind of gives me a feel for the type of people they're working for, kind of if there's anything negative, maybe I can see that ahead of time, things like that. And then another thing that's really important is it kind of helps build that community. So you can see that here on the right, someone left this really positive review. They recommended it. So not only does it show up on your personal page, it'll show up on Leah Sorensen's page as well. So all of her followers will be able to see that she used you and she recommended you. And then of course, Facebook ads. This is very daunting. I understand that setting up Facebook paid campaigns can just seem like a headache and totally frustrating, but it's something that I definitely recommend kind of jumping in and trying to utilize. It can just be one boosted post a month. It can be just a small paid ad campaign. As long as you're doing something, it really helps extend your reach. So you can pick, so say you have a house listing in Stockton and maybe it's an open house this Sunday from 4 to 6. You can target in Facebook your demographic. So you could do 25 miles around Stockton and you could boost it for anywhere from 50 to $100. And then you can also tailor it directly to people who might be looking for a house. You can type in those demographics there and it will target anyone who may have clicked on a similar ad before. And then you can also target an age range. So obviously 15, 16-year-olds are not going to be buying a house right now. So you could maybe put the age range from 25 to 50. If it's a all ranch, easily accessible house, you could do an older generation. And that just kind of helps really get your content in front of more people. So then that brings us to LinkedIn. And LinkedIn is primarily a business to business network. So you're not necessarily going to be finding your clients on here, but it's such a great place to network with fellow real estate agents and really show off your industry experience. So while you might not be spending a ton of time on this platform, I usually recommend maybe, sorry, an hour or two a week, maybe one or two posts. It's a great place for you to kind of set up a profile and a company page so people can find you and you can really build those connections within your industry. And then the big one that I really want to focus on today is Instagram. Instagram is absolutely booming for the real estate industry right now. Instagram is such a highly visual platform. So stylish property photos really go hand in hand with the most popular types of content on Instagram currently. So it can range from luxury or boutique real estate businesses. It's really becoming more of the primary social media channel ahead of Facebook right now. Additionally, the new Instagram features like Instagram stories and Instagram highlights really help provide different alternatives to getting content to people and kind of making it a little more real time. So say you're at a listing or you're at an open house and you just take a quick photo, you could easily update it to an Instagram story within 2 or 3 minutes, and it'll show up at the top of users' feeds. They'll be able to see it right away. And it kind of just gives more of that personal lifestyle content feel as well. And if you can take anything away from this conversation, it would be this quote. So 3 seconds is all the time it takes someone to decide whether or not to follow an Instagram account. If you guys think about going and visiting a social platform and say you see an ad pop up on your Instagram feed, you might click it and go see immediately if it's someone that you want to follow or some content that you're interested in. So keeping this in mind while you're curating content and putting a strategy together is so big, because you want, especially on Instagram, really highly visual content that will really resonate with your followers. So now that we've covered the platforms, I want to get into talking about the actual content to post on each platforms. Obviously, you want to have a purpose and a strategy, and that not only helps guide your digital marketing efforts, but it also makes your job easier. So you have a guide each month of what you want to be posting, and it kind of helps you keep your clarity on your niche. So I always recommend that my clients develop 4 to 5 content pillars. These are critical to social success because they help deliver a variety of content that, one, your audiences crave, and they also ensure that their content is aligning with your social media messaging and staying on brand with your overall goal. So as you see here to the right, the suggested content pillars that I have for especially the real estate industry are community, expertise, listings, and branding. So keeping those 4 things in mind when we're going through the content is a huge factor. So the first pillar is community. Obviously, as real estate agents, building relationships and working it within your community is a huge deal. So this pillar really helps to highlight the community you serve and also shows buyers why they should move to the areas where your listings are. So this type of content could include the perks of your current market or area, whether it's a great school district, the housing costs. You can also partner with promotions to do like a giveaway for local restaurants. Maybe there's a new boutique opening and they're going to give away a gift card. You can partner with them on your social media platforms as well. And that one showcases the community aspect for the people who might be thinking about working with you, might be thinking about moving to that area, as well as helping those businesses who are just starting out kind of branch out and get a bigger following as well. And then finally, video content. This really goes back to the being more personal and being able to relate to you. So whether it's a short little video of you trying the new restaurant, or maybe it's you at an open house, just making it really personal and kind of bringing that community feel. So I have an example of a post for this pillar to the right. So this is the Garlic Brothers restaurant, and it can be something simple with a caption like, reminiscing on summer days in Stockton. The Port of Stockton doesn't just drive the economy of the region, it also provides some great sunset spots at the end of a long day of work. So if I was a future home buyer and I was using you as a real estate agent, I saw this, I could definitely envision my husband and I coming to eat dinner here or get a few drinks after work. And it makes me really kind of feel connected to the community in the area as well. So then the next pillar is expertise. And obviously, as real estate agents, you kind of want to highlight the rock stars that you are. And It's totally okay to have a humble brag every now and then. So this pillar can include your client testimonials. As long as you just make sure you get approval to post them on social media ahead of time, that's always a big thing. And then credit the person who did it. And then also educational content. I know as a first-time home buyer, it can be very intimidating to kind of get into the industry and figure out the best way, especially in this real estate climate, the best way to navigate that. So kind of setting yourselves apart as an industry leader on social media can be a huge visually engaging aspect and a way to grow your audience. So it can be tips from maybe the top 3 reasons why you should have your offer stand out in a market, or kind of tips on maybe what potential buyers need to do to go ahead and get pre-approved, things like that. And then also memorable tidbits from past clients. So you can kind of really talk about your experience here and your expertise. So maybe you helped a potential client close on 3 or 4 houses and now they are looking for their house for retirement. Stories like that that make you kind of stand out and show that you really are an expert in your industry. And then listings. Social media is the perfect tool, so it's so important to use it to showcase your current listings and attract buyers. At the end of the day, you want to get your houses sold, you want to get your clients into their dream homes. So being able to incorporate listing posts into your weekly content schedule is huge. And I know it can seem daunting, but there's platforms out there such as Canva where you can kind of create templates. So you can design your first one, and then it can be as simple as going in and switching out the photo of the house and the price and the address. And then also, as you're posting these, I think it's really important to keep in mind that you don't just put in the copy, oh, Hudson Bay listing, check it out. Make sure that you really go in and talk about specific features of the house. What makes it unique? You can even jump on a quick video or Facebook Live and do a virtual tour of the house. That way, maybe someone who couldn't necessarily get there can kind of get a good feel for it ahead of time as well. And then finally, branding. I think it's really important to remember that you guys are your own brand. It's important to highlight what sets you guys apart and what makes you stand out in the industry. So this type of content can include explanations on what makes you different from all the other agents fighting for the same business. So maybe you're a military veteran. Maybe you love to travel and you've sold houses in 40 of the 50 states. Maybe you're a coffee fanatic and it's tying in that you do some work at local coffee shops. Be really adding in a more personal, relatable touch to your content, while also kind of still showcasing those expertise and what sets you apart. So now, once you have your content pillars created and you have a good feel for the types of content that you're wanting to post, it's really important to be able to know when your audience is active, because you can have the best post ever, but if you don't post it at the right times, it might not necessarily be seen or get the most engagement possible. So as you see here, we'll start with Instagram. So globally, the best time to post on Instagram is Tuesdays between 11 a.m. and 2 p.m. or Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. And this is the global standard. So this is pulled from literally everywhere around the world. And once you start posting within these timeframes, you'll kind of be able to go in and look at your own social feeds and analytics. And maybe you'll see that posting at 11:30 is better compared to 1:30. And you can kind of adjust it accordingly. This is just a great outline for getting started. And then for Facebook, same thing here. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Fridays are going to be your highest, most engaging days to post on social media. And the best timeframes for those are from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So I always like to think, when would you be on your phone? Usually in the mornings when you first get out of bed, or you're eating breakfast, or during your lunch break at work. Maybe you're scrolling through Facebook. So keeping that in mind when you're publishing content is a big deal as well. And then LinkedIn, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are the best days for LinkedIn. Once again, it's going to be that morning 9 a.m. time frame to the noon lunch time frame on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and then Wednesdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. as well. So then once you have your audience's best active times, you have your schedule put in place, you have your content pillars, it's really important to go ahead and take a look at your Instagram feeds or your Facebook profiles and make sure that you're really setting yourself up to get the most traffic possible. So on Instagram, for example, you want to make sure that you optimize your bios for conversion. So what that means is you're ensuring that you get the highest click-through rates possible from your organic social media traffic. So one thing that a lot of people aren't aware of is that you can change your personal account into a professional account. This will, one, activate your Instagram insights, so you'll be able to see your data about your audience and your content performance. And then it also lets you get really targeted, and you can choose your specific industry. So if you look over here to the right, this is an example of the professional setting. So you'll be able to set your account as a real estate agent. And then that way, so if I were to go into the search bar and search real estate agent in Stockton, California, you would have more of a higher chance of popping up because you're under that category. You can also put your direct location. You can put your specialty. So if you specialize in boutique real estate, things like that, you can make sure you put that in there because those are keywords that will help you show up in an organic search. And then also the most important thing is making sure that you have your contact information and your address for your company. If you don't have that, that's totally fine. Just make sure you have that contact information filled out there. And then if you do have a website, one tool that is very helpful is a tool called Linktree. It's 100% free, and it really allows you to kind of increase website conversions and drive those leads through your organic social media traffic. And it also really helps give your audience an easy, streamlined path to take. So LinkedIn or Linktree to your right over here, you can really kind of tailor it to your own design feel. So you can change the background colors, you can add your headshot in there, you can put a little bio, and then you can also break it out. So it will have like linktree.com/Lizzie James. And when they click it in their bio, it'll show them this page here where you can have it broken up by current listings. So when they click that, it'll take them directly to your current listing page. About me, when they click that, it'll take them to the About Me section on your website. Testimonials is another one that I really recommend putting here as well. And then of course, get in touch, just the easiest way to get in contact with you. So once you have all of that set up, you now have your strategy in place, you have your conversions on your bios done, you're really set up for the best possible traffic. It's important to establish goals and to kind of see what you want to come from your digital marketing efforts. So tracking data not only proves the value of your efforts, but it also shows that the content you're posting is resonating with your audiences. So you'll be able to keep track of things like your follower count, your reach, your engagement rate, your growth rate. And something that I always recommend doing is setting a tentative launch date. So say I'm going to launch my content on Thursday, March 17th. Go in that morning of Thursday, March 17th and write down how many followers you have on each platform. So say I have 117 followers on March 17th in the morning before I launch my campaign or before I start my social media efforts. Put that in a spreadsheet. So then a month later on April 17th, you can go back in and look and see how your followers are growing. Maybe they're not growing it as fast as you originally planned, so you have to tailor your content for that. Definitely making sure you can keep track of it helps show that your efforts are working or if you need to adjust. And then from a website standpoint, if you use a tool like Linktree, you'll be able to see the clicks from your Instagram account to your website. So you'll actually be able to see how many people clicked on your current listings, your testimonials, your About Us, and you can kind of use those to tailor your content for the future moving forward. So aside from your follower count and your website clicks, two main key performance indicators to keep track of are one, your average engagement rate. So this is the number of engagement actions, so likes, shares, comments that your post receives, and it's relative to your total number of followers. So this is an important metric because the higher the engagement rate means, the more your content is resonating with your audience. And then the second one is average growth rate or your follower growth rate. So this is expressed as a percentage growth and measures the speed at which your social media account is gaining or losing followers. And this is a huge factor to keep in mind when you're posting content, because if you see that you're necessarily losing followers or your growth rate is kind of on a decline, that really shows that the content you're posting isn't necessarily resonating with your audience, and you might need to adjust that there. And then another recommendation for Instagram is to really use Instagram highlights and Instagram stories. I know a lot of people, especially in the younger generation, early 20s, mid 20s, really rely on Instagram stories. It's a huge factor that has really made the social media industry kind of have to rethink how they post content. So, in order to put your best foot forward, I recommend that you kind of give your audience a few highlight reels to click through. So, you can create these in a platform like Canva. It's super easy, it's free. It can be as simple as filling circles with your logo color or brand color that you kind of do your listing posts and everything into. So, it kind of gives a cohesive view and appeal. So that way, when you post stories, you can kind of file them into a category. So for example, testimonials. If you post a testimonial on your Instagram feed, you can share it to your story and then add it to your highlight. So when I come to visit your page, I can click on the testimonial highlight and it will take me through all of the testimonials that you've posted. So instead of me having to scroll through your profile and kind of search for those, it's all right there, super easy, super streamlined. So aside from testimonials, some things that I recommend that people put up here are a buyer's guide, current real estate trends. This can kind of fall under the educational type content as well, whether it's current design trends, maybe some tips on buying or selling properties. You can file those all under that category. And then of course the about me for the little more personal touch. So now you have everything optimized, you have your strategy, everything's put into place. I know it can seem very overwhelming, and maybe you're thinking, wow, like, okay, the best time to post is 11 o'clock on Monday, but I have meetings that day. What am I going to do? There are definitely tools out there that kind of help make it a lot easier for you to manage. So this first one here that I have highlighted is Grammarly. So this is totally free app, and you can also add it as a Google Chrome browser extension. And this kind of helps provide grammar and spell check at the click of a button. So when you're writing a post and you may be worried about making sure your commas are in the right place or you have things spelled correctly, all you do is copy and paste your post copy, put it into the app, and it will tell you immediately if you have any grammar edits and what needs to be fixed. And then Canva. I know I mentioned that it was really helpful to kind of do the listings in visually appealing templates and kind of help with those educational branding type posts. And I don't expect everyone to be a graphic designer. So Canva really makes it easy to design pretty much anything that's perfect for your brand. So you can do social media posts, you can do it already sized. So you can go in there, they already have Instagram post size for Instagram, Facebook post size for Facebook. You can upload, if you have a logo, you can upload a logo into Canva and it will automatically pull your brand colors. So you have them saved in there forever. You never have to worry about manually going back and forth and putting them in there. And then this is also a free app. There's a paid version that adds for a little more of the video type content, which is something once you get started, I would definitely recommend looking into. And then that also brings up the conversation of making sure that the photos that you're posting are royalty free and that you're allowed to use them. So Unsplash is a great tool for this because it provides millions of royalty free photos at the click of a button. So you could search Stockton, California into the Unsplash category, and they'll pull up any photo that's royalty free and able for you to use. So all you have to do is just pull it, download it, and then post it right directly to your pages. And then repost. So say you have a brokerage or an industry leader that you really like to follow and you really like their content and you want to share that to your followers as well. Repost is a free mobile app, so you can download it to your iPhone. And all you have to do is copy the URL of any Instagram post that you want to share, put it into repost, and it will automatically create the post for you. So you can add an attribution, so you can put the symbol or the @ handle from the people who originally shared the content, and then all you do is share and it automatically shares up on your posts. And then Adobe Lightroom. So Adobe Lightroom is kind of for the people who really like Canva and they might want to take it a step further. It's an editing app that it doesn't require a Creative Cloud or Adobe subscription like Photoshop does. It has tons of editing tools and customizations, and you can kind of create your own filters and save them in there. So that's another really great photo editing and design tool that I like to have in my little toolkit. And then Planoly. So this goes back to the maybe you have a meeting at 11 o'clock on Monday and you can't necessarily post. There are platforms like Planoly. You can get them on your phone, on your laptop, on your desktop, that will allow you to plan, schedule, and publish your content all from there. So maybe you set aside 3 or 4 hours a week and you say, okay, I want to plan out my content for the next month or the next 2 weeks. You can go in there and upload that into Planoly. Go ahead, schedule it out based on the times that you want it to. And then it just kind of automatically does that for you. So you don't have to worry about going in and manually posting any of that. And then aside from the scheduling content, you can also analyze your business profile tools. So you can look at your engagement rates, your followers, your growth rates, all within this app as well. So it's such a great tool when you can't necessarily be on the platform at all times. And then in conclusion, I always like to say that I love to remember the social media golden rules. So the acronym LEARN. So it's really important to listen. In order to have success with your social media, sometimes you need to listen more and talk less. It's important to tailor your messaging to add value rather than clutter or noise. So for example, you don't necessarily have to jump on every single trend, or maybe something political happened that day and you don't necessarily have to feel the need to post about it. You can kind of just sit back and tailor your messaging to really promote your brand and what helps you. And then engage. Communication and community are essential to any social media manager, but especially in the real estate industry, in order to help you build a loyal audience and really build up that clientele as well. And then acknowledge. So give your audience a voice and create a platform where they can share their opinions openly and candidly. So this kind of goes hand in hand with engage and acknowledge. You want to make sure that if people are leaving you reviews, that you're responding. It can be something simple like, hey, so-and-so, thank you so much for your kind review. I enjoyed working with you. Just making sure that you acknowledge that they're interacting with you and that they want to build that relationship. And then our research. A little research can go a huge way. So looking up current benchmarking metrics that are specific to your industry. So that can fall into the educational type content, like I had mentioned. Maybe there's a key target like refinancing or listings, how to get the best offer, as well as looking at hashtags relevant to your audience. If you're posting about any community events, seeing if they have hashtags for their events as well. That kind of helps expand your reach. And then finally, N, nurture. It's really important to give your audience a voice. So whether it be polling them in stories on listings, so you can ask their opinion on new trends. Maybe it's a new design trend and you just put a quick little poll on the Instagram stories. How do you feel about this color granite? Yes, no. Just giving them ways to interact with your content constantly is such a great way to kind of nurture your audience. So that concludes the presentation. I'd really love to go ahead and open it up to you guys and answer any questions that you might have that we either covered, or maybe something else that you guys have seen come up or have happened on your social media platforms as well.
And make you nice and big as well, so that way we can see your face.
I know somebody's got a question. Just raise your hand if you got a question. Questions.
Lizzie, can you hear? Can you hear us okay?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, great. Any questions?
Can you talk a little bit more about this Linktree landing page? I don't totally understand. Like, is it an app? I don't totally understand.
Yeah, so it's actually actually a app/website, so you can get it on your mobile phone as the Linktree app, or you can go to linktree.com. And essentially, you just set up an account. So it'll just ask you to set up a username. So if it's a personal account, like for your real estate brand, you could just type in like linktree.com/your name. And then you set a password up. And so then once that's set up, you can automatically.
Our internet's unstable. It looks like it's corrected itself. Go ahead if you wouldn't mind just starting from the beginning real quick.
Yeah, so Linktree is both a mobile app and a desktop. So you can download it as an app on your phone, or you can just go to linktree.com. And all you do is just set up an account. So you would set up a Linktree URL. So you could do like linktree.com/Lizzie James. And then once you do that, that will be the URL that shows up on your bio. And you can go in there and copy and paste any URL that you want to show up on that landing page. And it will automatically put those in the button formats.
Any additional questions on that?
I think I just need to start like playing, like looking at it. Is it, okay, so it's to help your Instagram for the buttons, is that what?
Yes, it basically allows you, instead of having just like one website link that would take you to like your homepage, it allows you to kind of separate it out into categories that will most be beneficial to your audience. So say I like go to your page and I really only care about your testimonials. You can put that as a button on there. So instead of me having to like go to your homepage and dig through to find the testimonials, I can just click it right there and it just makes it really streamlined and easy.
Yes. So all you have to do is just post that link within your bio on Instagram, and that way it's one link, so you don't have to keep changing out every time you post something new for somebody to visit on your Instagram.
Thank you.
Of course. Any additional questions?
Hashtags. Some people do none, some do 2 or 3, some do like 30.
Mhm.
I mean, don't even read all the hashtags in the post, so
Sure.
how important are they?
Did you hear the question? Okay, Lizzie?
Yes. So
Great.
hashtags, you want to make sure they're one, relevant to your post. You don't want to put like a hashtag for Arizona if it's something about a listing in California. So really doing some hashtag research there is really helpful. And I definitely don't think you need 30 to 50 hashtags per post. My golden rule of thumb is anywhere from 5 to 10 hashtags. And it's really just based on the content that you're publishing. So like I mentioned before, if maybe you're sharing a local event, going in and seeing if they have a hashtag that they're using to help promote the event. That way, when people click or search that hashtag, your content comes up as well. So that's kind of the benefits of hashtags there.
Do you use them on every platform? Do you use them on every platform?
I don't usually use them on Facebook. The main platform I use them on is Instagram, because you can follow. Instagram did a new update where you can now follow hashtags specifically. So doing your hashtag research and everything on Instagram is such a huge deal. And that's where I usually like to include the 5 to 10.
There was a question in the back. Yes.
Facebook also offers analytics, like as far as like certification profile, like Instagram.
Yes. Can you talk through the analytics that are available through Facebook, please?
Yes. So you can go into Facebook Business Manager. And when you kind of go through how I mentioned setting your personal page to a professional page, it will now give you access to Facebook Business Manager. So you can go in there and pull all of the same analytics from Instagram. You can set date ranges. So say you want to pull your analytics from the last 30 days, you can set that as a date range and it will show you your growth, your followers, your reach, all of that, all within the platform.
Of course.
So is this something that your company helps agents who are not Facebook or Instagram savvy?
For our agency specifically? Yes, so we are definitely willing to have conversations and just kind of understand exactly what your goals are and how we may be able to help you with that. Yeah, of course. Question from Blake. Yes.
I have a quick question. So you mentioned benchmarks for engagement rate, and like kind of comparing those and seeing where you are and also for growth rate. Are there some rule of thumb benchmarks that you should be aiming for on those, or things all benchmarks?
So they're kind of ever changing, and you can Google industry benchmarks for whatever industry you're in. So you can Google industry real estate benchmarks, and then you can do Facebook, Instagram, and it will tell you. So right now, the current industry benchmark for the real estate industry, engagement rate wise, is anywhere from 2 to 4%. So keeping that in mind when you're pulling those numbers and researching the content, making sure that it falls within those 2 to 4%. If it's over, that's great. You're above the industry benchmark. You just don't want to be below that 2%.
And how do you define engagement? That's like somebody watched all of your video, part of your video, they clicked your thing, they scroll by it. What is engagement? Wow.
Yeah, so engagement is anything from people liking your post, commenting on your post, your video views, your shares. It's a combination of all of that. And then it's divided by the total number of followers you have. So that will help you get your percentage for your growth right there.
Somebody's really, really do what kind of growth rate should they be expecting?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It broke up a little.
If somebody's really new to one of the platforms, what kind of growth rate should they be expecting?
Yeah, so if you're new, you've never posted anything really, you're obviously going to see a huge growth rate at the beginning because there's nothing to base it off of. So you might see a growth rate that's more in the 6 to 8% range. And so I always recommend that you get on a consistent posting basis for 90 days. And then once you have that 90-day benchmark, that kind of is when you start making sure you're falling in line with the industry benchmark of that 2 to 4%. Just because you have to be able to have that baseline at first, because obviously if you're posting from scratch, you've never really posted before, you're going to see a huge increase in growth because you started at zero.
How many stories should we be posting, like, compared to posts?
So the great thing about Instagram stories is they only last 24 hours. So whereas a post is forever on your feed until you delete it, Instagram stories automatically disappear within 24 hours. So I always say, I hate when I'm on my Instagram and there's someone who's posted like 40 stories in a row and you just have to keep clicking through it. So I always say good rule of thumb there is anywhere from 5 to 7 stories a day. Just try and keep it within that. And I always like to say my personal rule of thumb is it something that I want to keep scrolling through, or am I just going to swipe past it and not care?
I think maybe asking more of like, what would be the ratio between like business and.
I guess both, because I did want to know exactly what she was saying, but that's, I guess, compared to, how many posts to stories as well.
Okay, so like total number of feed posts compared to stories.
If we're doing a 1 to 2 hours of social media in one specific spot each week or so.
Okay, yeah, so I always recommend as far as like feed posting. So those are the posts that will be in your feeds. They stay there until you delete them, if you ever choose to delete them. I recommend that you post at least 3 times a week. You can do Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, just so you have some sort of consistency there. And then on the stories, just like I said, 5 to 7 a day at max. And you can really do it. I have seen some clients where they just feel the need to post a story and it doesn't really have a strategy behind it either. So I think the days that you post your stories, you should be posting the ones that either you're out at a listing or it's something that you want your audience to see.
Thank you.
Any additional?
That 5 to 7, is that like 5 to 7 stories every single day? That's a lot. For me.
Were you saying 5 to 7 every day?
It's, it doesn't have to be every day. No, I just say that's like max. Like you don't want to go over that. That's like max. Like if you're posting 1 story a day, that's great. Just don't go over 5 to 7 a day. No one wants to scroll through all of that. You don't want to post that.
So 1 story a day is.
Yes.
Yes.
Like, there's my students, here's my outfit, it's okay.
Should you archive posts on the long run?
Did you hear that question?
No, sorry, can you repeat that?
Did you archive posts that are no longer relevant on your actual feed? So are you talking about like going back and deleting old posts?
Well, you can delete or you can just archive, so you still have it. But I mean, I think of posting a house, we have an open house this Saturday, blah, blah, and then the house is sold in 3 days, because the market is not, you know?
Sure,
Do I keep that on my feed or do we remove it?
after. Did you hear the full question, Lizzie?
I did, yes. So I think that can be more of a personal preference. So say you want to showcase that you sold that listing in a good amount of time. So you can keep the post that the house is for sale, and then maybe the next week or however long you can post that it's sold. That way, if you're like scrolling through your feed, it kind of gets the best of both worlds. If you don't want to post that it's sold, you don't want that out there, then yes, you can totally archive the posts. One thing to keep in mind with archiving and deleting though, is if you're tracking your analytics, you want to make sure that you have it up for 30 days, because if you delete that post, you'll lose the engagement and everything for that. So your numbers will be a little misconstrued.
Do you lose it even if you archive it?
No, if you just delete it, it'll lose all of it.
Yes, let's say I absolutely have never used this once on for social media posting to try to drive my business, but I want to at least try and stay consistent with it. But doing 3 different apps seems overwhelming. What's the first one that I should definitely focus on and start?
Did you hear that question, Lizzie?
Yes, first platform to start with.
Yes.
I would definitely recommend Instagram. Like I said, it's totally booming. It's the most used social platform right now. I would definitely recommend starting with that. And then jumping into Facebook, because Facebook owns Instagram. So it kind of makes it easy. You can link your Facebook and your Instagram accounts together. So instead of having to like split it and you feel like it's 2 platforms, you can post from Instagram and it'll automatically share it to Facebook. It's just a setting that you have to put in your profile. So I know it seems daunting, and I know this doesn't necessarily help, but definitely Instagram and then Facebook if you can, and it doesn't feel as daunting to kind of connect those 2 together.
Thank you.
Any additional questions? I saw a hand over here.
Actually, I'll start with one. So recommendations for topics, right? So let's say you don't have somebody, a marketing company, giving recommendations for topics. Is there a good place to go online to figure out what your target audience might be interested in, what they're searching on Google?
Sure.
Yeah. So one, you can just search current real estate trends or current real estate topics in the year. And oftentimes other marketing agencies and stuff will post free blog content that you can pull from that kind of teaches you some of the educational content there. And then there's also tools such as Hootsuite and Sprout Social that you can look at, and they have blog ideas for pretty much every industry. Sprout Social is where I go to pull the active audience times as well as the industry benchmarks. So that they're a really great resource too. And if it's just something where you have no experience with social media and you kind of want to take a quick crash course, Hootsuite Academy has free classes that you can take online, and it kind of walks you through all of this as well.
What was that? Sweet.
Hootsuite Academy, like an owl hoot.
Okay.
Yes.
I thought I remember Hootsuite, the owl.
And then actually, I got a question. Anyone else, feel free to jump in. I think these are relevant. So we did a number of times about posting listings. If you don't have listings, or you have one listing, do you repost the same listing over and over? Do you borrow listings from other people? Do you take a picture of a really cool house in Malibu and throw that on your stock? If you don't have listings to promote?
Yeah, so I think if you don't have a whole lot of listings at once, being able to space out the content. So maybe you just post about that listing once a week, but you do it in more of a different way. So you could post it the first week as that template like I showed earlier. And then maybe the next week it's like a picture of the kitchen and you highlight the farmhouse sink or something in there. that people might want to see. So just kind of, instead of posting the graphic each time, breaking it up and showcasing different aspects of the house, I think would be a great idea. Also, you could do where you just space out. So if you only have one listing a week, maybe you only do 3 posts a week and you do 1 testimonial, you have your listing, and then you do an educational piece of content in there. And that just kind of goes as your schedule for the rest of the month.
And then last question. How important is content versus well done or really good content? I mean, we talk about posting X amount of times per week. Let's say you've got a limited calendar. Am I better off to post something, even if it's crap, or to not post unless I've got the time to really prepare something good?
So I say you have to find a happy medium. You obviously don't want to just throw something up that looks crappy, because like that quote, someone is going to go to your Instagram and decide within 3 seconds if it's someone they want to follow or interact with. So if they go on there and just see a random picture that makes no sense to them, that's not going to entice them to follow. So I think you have to find a happy medium there, where maybe it's just setting aside time each week where you create at least 2 posts, set that as like your minimum benchmark to get started. And you create 2 really good, thought out, engaging posts. And then once you get the hang of that, being able to grow from there.
2 posts a week that are really good would be your starting point for somebody who was new and experienced.
Yes, I would recommend like 2 to 3 really good thought out posts compared to like 5 to 7 just not really thought out posts that you just throw up.
So say, for instance, that we have a million real estate agents that are all incredible, but I want to stand out. What is the best way for me to find my pillars to make it so that my feed isn't the same as everyone else in my same area?
Yeah, I think in order to do that, you kind of have to ask yourself, what do I want my potential clients to see me as? Like, what do I think sets myself apart? And then use those to kind of guide your pillars. So maybe it's you've been a real estate agent for 25 years and you really want to highlight that expertise. Maybe that's your overall goal and your brand mission. And so then everything you do shapes around that.
Thank you.
I have a question. So I struggle with, okay, so I have my Facebook and I have my Facebook page, right? And I know that those are supposed to be separate because Facebook can shut you down if you do too much business posting on your personal, whatever. What about Instagram? I find that people like kind of the personal part, so I haven't separated them. But I don't know if that's the right answer. I constantly am like questioning that. So is that something where I should have just a business page where it's just real estate, or because I kind of right now intertwine like some family stuff and kids, but I find that people like relate to me that way.
And that could just be, you could just make your personal page that professional page. Like I had mentioned, it's just a setting that you can go in and do. So you don't necessarily have to create a whole new account. If that's the route that you wanted to take. And then maybe just under one of your pillars that's more of the like community about you pillar, is sharing the stuff from your family. If that's something that you found that your audience likes and they interact with, you can try and incorporate both. And I always recommend you can always try it. You never know until you try. So maybe if you start adding in some more of that educational listing type content and keep track of your engagement rates, if it just goes totally down, maybe that's your sign that you need to create a separate business page.
And what about videos? I mean, I feel like the whole world's gone to videos. Like we haven't even talked about TikTok. Okay, I have teenagers, all right? TikTok is insane, but it's a platform that I've fiddled around with a little bit, but like, I mean, I just feel like reels, I mean, and that's where I just start to really lose my mind. Because I just
Yes. So I always say you got to walk before you can run. So before you like jump into TikTok and all of that, making sure you get the good like static images and your strategy and everything down first. Instagram, like you did say, has shifted to be primarily heavily video content. They're trying to compete with TikTok with the reels and everything. So if you want to kind of dip your toes in and maybe you want to experience TikTok in the future, I always recommend that you tackle the reel side of it first. That way you can see if it's something that, one, you have the time for, two, something that interests you and that you can do. And then maybe it's something that takes off and your clients really like it and your audience really interacts with it. Kind of using that as the judgment whether or not to jump over to TikTok as well.